Progress.
All right, welcome again, everyone. My name is Christina Cow. I'm the director of the Alliance of Healthcare Unions in Hawaii, and I also have responsibilities over national benefits. So the reason why I'm here today, and I've done these presentations now for OFNHP, actually several throughout the last 2 years. I recall I was in Portland on campus at the very start of the pandemic, and now I think I've offered these maybe once or twice previously via Zoom. And so in any case, today we are going to be going over your retiree benefits, and the format of today's presentations pretty similar to if you've been to mine before. About 90 minutes for presentations, about 20 minutes for Q&A at the end. And you can put your questions in at the chat. I typically go over a roster of many questions at the end of chat. If you do put something in the chat throughout the presentation, I'll do my best to take a look and answer it if it's possible to do so at that time. So we are in the Zoom platform today, thanks to the new world of all of us doing internet virtual meetings. And so if you're kind of new to this will be a good chance for you to get familiar with it. But we will go over some basic functions. So if you hover maybe above at the top of your screen or below, you should see this participant panel pop up, and that is where you will find a lot of your controls, including going on video, using mute, using chat. So just to point a few things out, if you click on the icon of people, that will show you who's in our presentation, our workshop right now. And then of course that diagram with the little chat function will allow you to put your questions. Also, you can choose a particular participant to actually chat with. So let's try this out. So clicking the participant icon, and I hope that hasn't changed. You might see some non-verbal feedback icons like raise your hand, a green check mark. So for me, I actually have to go to the three little, I think, dots that say more, but why don't we try this out? Why don't you try to put your hand up? So clicking the icon in which you can put your hand. Great. And so sorry, for me, just to be clear, I click the participant icon, and then you might see at the very bottom of that window, there's three little dots. So I see a few people putting those hands up. Okay, great. So that's just another way that we can interact. And then if you could click to lower your hand. Awesome. All right, so that's, I think, the key function that we'll probably be using. So oops, it should look something like this. If you are, hoping that the functions still look the same, but hopefully you're using something like this here. You can always also put in emojis to provide some sort of reaction as well. Okay. All right, and then there is a chat icon as well, in which you can put in, and just make sure that you know who you want to chat with. I know that in meetings sometimes I do chat some of my colleagues individually if I have a specific question or want to clarify something they might have said at that time. Okay, great. So, all right. So welcome to Zoom. I think those are the key functions that you'll be using. So to come back to our presentation today, the objectives of today's workshop are for you to learn about changes to Retiree Medical, our wins as well. And I also will be going over these 4 key components. So Retiree Medical is really the biggest part of today's presentation. Also going over your sick leave HRA, then your defined benefit or your pension plan, and finally your defined contribution plan. And then I'll also speak to a few key dates and things you want to keep in mind generally for retirement to help get you through the process a little bit smoother. And I'll just wrap that up by saying the objective is not for you to remember every single fact that I've gone over, every single detail. That would be really hard and a lot to ask unless this was maybe your, I don't know, like 10th time being in one of these workshops. Really, my objective and goal for you is to familiarize you with the program framework, some of the vocabulary that will be pretty important in terms of calling the Kaiser Retirement Center and making sure that you're speaking the same language as those representatives. And, you know, I want to be fair to them too. Those folks are just trained with a toolkit and can pull up some of your key information, but I have to admit I don't know how concrete their critical linkage of all these concepts are. And honestly, that's probably outside of their scope, but in order to have the conversation that you need to get the right information, I want to make sure that you all have the vocabulary you need, because what you say versus what they hear versus what they say and what you hear can be a bit of a disconnect. And so if you're not speaking the same language or understanding what the word is that they're using, there can be confusion. And I want you to be able to at least help ask the right questions, use the right terms. So do not need to commit everything to memory, but hoping that you come away having a general understanding of the framework. The other tool that is really important for you and I refer to all the time. So if you were to ask me a question and I didn't know it off the top of my head, I would go to this myself, and it's available to every single Kaiser employee, actually even anyone who has an NUID. That would be me because I'm not a Kaiser employee. Is your summary plan description. And you can get that for any bargaining unit. You can look at the one for your non-union or salary colleagues. It's on HR Connect, and you navigate to your benefit tab and you see benefits by group. And this document, I highly recommend you download it. It also includes what are called summary of material modifications. So you're probably used to getting those when we have a negotiations and then things get implemented. So near where things get implemented, you'll get a letter that says, because we negotiated with the Alliance of Healthcare Unions, we agreed that X would change. So that would update the summary plan document. I'm sorry, the summary plan description. And they send that out as an SMM, a summary of material modifications. But in any case, that document is all inclusive, and that's the first source of written information that would help answer these questions. So I do encourage you to go download that. And after this presentation, like I said, this will give you, I hope, a really good framework. And then you can take even deeper dive or continue to review via the SPD. Okay, so we'll move into bargaining items, but one thing I wanted to try, and this is where we'll go back to that. Actually, we'll do that later. So just to set us up, I want to remind folks that every time we go into national bargaining, we have a couple principles that guide the work that we do and our discussions. And so we always want to make sure that we continue to preserve affordable, high quality health coverage for our Alliance members, and that we continue to lead the industry in benefits. We're very proud of the benefits that we have, both active and retiree medical, and we are keeping the standard high for the industry. And that is a big deal. We are, we work for a very large employer. And for those of you who were here last year, you do know that we had a really, really hard fight, what with this huge push for a 2-tier wage structure, et cetera. Additionally, we have over 50,000 members, many different unions and locals, with OFNHP actually being 4 bargaining units, and those benefits can be different across all of our bargaining units. So even within a region, even within one union, OFNHP, for example, there can be variations. And so where we can, we want to standardize our benefits. And then, of course, for those who have less generous benefits, raising the floor so that we make sure that we have a high standard even at the lowest point. And hopefully it's really not that much variation, but wherever there might be variation, making sure that that is still a high minimum standard. So moving to retiree medical, which will be our first topic today. So by show of hands, let's go back to your raise hand function. How many of you have 15 or more years of service? That looks like almost the majority, so about 9 or so people. All right, and please lower your hands. Thank you. So the flip of that, who has less than 15 years of service at this point? And I'm glad you are here because 15 years is really quite important, but you will be able to really take the most advantage of your retirement medical and other retirement benefits if you know what you have ahead of you. Okay, thank you. So if you could lower those hands. My last question is, anyone here hired before 1985? Okay, so wow, okay. Right, so a few people. So this, I might have to go over some of the grandfathering options. All right, thank you. If you could please lower your hand. So thank you for letting me know. That gives me a good sense of who is in the room and where I need to focus. So we are going to go back to 2015, about 3 bargaining rounds ago. And if you were here, you would probably recall we had focus of our discussion that year was on retiree medical. And there was a large plan design change in which we moved to the Kaiser Permanente Senior Advantage Plan, which is going to be the bulk of my focus for this part of today's workshop. But one of the things that definitely did not change was the eligibility requirements. That's why I asked who was in the room. So in terms of eligibility, there's 2 ways that you can become eligible for retiree medical. So one is, which is a standard rule across Kaiser, is retiring at age 55 with 15 years of service. And this question came up in the last workshop, so I'll just briefly touch. When I say retire, what I mean by that is really terminate, you're ending your career at this point in time with Kaiser. You're severing from the company. Have you left with at least age 55, 15 years of service? Whether you go on in the rest of your years to establish your own business, work at another hospital, do something else where you're still, quote, working and not, quote, retired, that is fine. There's no, Kaiser will not be checking up necessarily on your employment status. So what I mean is, when you've left Kaiser, Are you age 55 with 15 years of service? That's really important. Or you can also meet the rule of 75, which means your age plus your years of service sums to 75. And you have to have at least a minimum of 15. So that would mean something like age 50 with 25 years of service, 50 plus 25. You could leave the organization age 50. You've met the rule of 75. You will be eligible to receive retiree medical at age 65. And I know I said a lot in that you probably have questions about. I'll definitely make sure to go over. Big question, I'm sure, is, well, if I leave at 50 and I'm not eligible to 65, what does that mean? And is that what you said? That is, yes, what I said. So first of all, going back to the change that happened that we agreed to in 2015, it was implemented in 2017. So you probably had colleagues who were near retirement and were thinking, do I retire in 2016 and I keep the old design? And in Kaiser's terminology, they call it traditional retiree medical. Or do I leave 2017 or later, knowing that the plan will be different? And I'd actually argue better in some cases, actually most cases, to stay till 2017 or after. And that 2017 or after plan, Kaiser calls the modified retiree medical plan. So that's the one that features this Kaiser Permanente Senior Advantage Plan, KPSA. I'm going to refer to it as KPSA. And Kaiser in their marketing world might call it the street or individual or public plan. And KPSA is essentially the Medicare Advantage plan for Kaiser. And Medicare Advantage meaning, private insurers provide a Medicare plan where individuals who are Medicare eligible can basically port over their Medicare benefits to that individual plan, that private insurance plan, and it gets you some additional benefits that your federal Medicare does not. And so every health insurer has this. Kaiser's product, Kaiser's Medicare Advantage product, is this KPSA or KPSA. That's what they call it. So anyone can sign up for KPSA. So if your neighbor, your parents, other family members are Medicare age, Medicare eligible, they are eligible to sign up for this one, just like anyone else, just like anyone on the street, anyone in the public, right? So it's an individual plan. And I'll emphasize, what does individual versus the opposite or group plan mean? But in any case, anyone Medicare eligible can consider and enroll in this plan. The benefit that we have negotiated for our Alliance retirees, there's two of them. So the first is a health reimbursement account that is established for you and based on your years of service. So that's credit that you can use toward your health expenses that will defray the cost of your expenses for your KPSA plan. The second, I'm sorry, I didn't really update this, is a subsidy for the retiree, you and your spouse, when you are Medicare age, and that increases 3% a year per our national agreement. So have old numbers, 2020 for Northwest, it was $36 at the time. I imagine it's probably closer to $40 at this point in time, maybe $39. So that subsidy is available for you when you're Medicare eligible and your spouse when Medicare eligible. I'm saying Medicare eligible a lot of times because the other key concept that you need to know is, once again, this is a Medicare plan. You must be Medicare eligible to enroll in it. Otherwise, you cannot be in a Medicare plan. The last thing is the HRA, the health reimbursement account. There will be a $10,000 reload when the retiree turns 85. And I might have forgotten to mention, your HRA, based on your years of service, you will get $2,500 per year of service. So as we said, the minimum years of service you need is 15. If you multiply those numbers together, everyone's going to leave here, if you've met the eligibility requirements, with an HRA of $37,500. And there's no cap to it. So if you have been working here for many, many years, you can continue to increase that HRA. So a note here. So this does apply, maybe, I think, to those 3 people, and I haven't asked a whole lot of questions, but if you are hired before 1985 and you did not have a break in service, you've been here continually, that means that you're probably very highly likely what is termed a grandfathered employee. So grandfathering means that you were hired before a certain date. That puts you in a different category. So if you were hired before 1985 and you are truly grandfathered, that means you didn't have to make a decision in 2016, 2017. You were continuing to work here and you would be in the traditional retired medical plan. That modification, that change from traditional to modified retired medical did not affect you if you were hired before 1985. And I will go over more grandfathering. So for those who raise their hand, you can kind of tune out now, but I will come back to grandfathering. But I want to be very clear that for the most part, this modified program that I'm talking about won't apply to you. And you hopefully understood that, because that's probably why you're still working here. All right, so next. So yeah, I'm going to go into more detail. I just gave you sort of the highlights, but for the modified retired medical benefit, these are folks, once again, not grandfathered, who are retiring after 2016. So again, your coverage begins at Medicare eligible age. Honestly, that's the case for those who are grandfathered. So Medicare eligible, typically that's your age 65. But I do say Medicare eligible because you could become eligible with a disability. So you might not actually be 65, but generally speaking, folks are eligible at 65. So again, when you're Medicare eligible, the copays in the modified retired medical benefit are literally the copays in the public KIPSA plan. And we will go on a webpage to look at them to see exactly what they are this year. The difference between the traditional and this modified version is, again, the modified version features the public plan. We as a union do not negotiate the design of the public plan, unlike how we negotiate the design of your active plan, which I think you guys are more familiar with. So whatever the copays are in the public plan, that's what they are. We don't touch that. Our job is to make sure that we help defray and potentially completely cover the cost of that public plan, whatever the cost may be. So if doctor's office visits go up to $30, $50, I mean, that's terrible, health policy. But if that were the case, our job is to make sure that we've gotten a robust enough HRA that you use that HRA, that credit, to apply against your expenses, and that those expenses never have to hit your checking account, your own private savings, or using your pension or whatnot. So ensuring that we really defray the cost by, as you may have experienced in the last few years, getting that HRA account as robust as possible. So again, the HRA was increased, the value was increased. So I'm glad you all are still here. I know I was talking to folks in 2020 who said, oh, I'm close to retirement, what should I do? And I'm like, you need to wait till 2021, because in 2018 bargaining, we negotiated and were able to improve the HRA. It went from $2,000 per year of service, and then starting 2021, $2,500 per year of service. So anyone who retired 2021 or later they're now getting an extra $500 per year of service. So that's why it was so important for those folks to wait till January 1st, 2021. So huge improvement, a 25% increase to that HRA, just based on your retirement date. And the second item is the premium subsidy. So that premium subsidy in 2018 bargaining was eliminated for new hires starting in 2021. So what does that really mean? That premium subsidy, which honestly today doesn't even have much value to you, someone who was hired even before 2021. And I'll go over that later. It's because of the rule that guide the subsidy. That was eliminated for new hires starting in 2021, meaning if you were hired in 2021, when you were eligible to retire in 15 years, 2036, there would no longer be a premium subsidy. So we were comfortable negotiating that because, one, we were able to get this improvement to the HRA nearly immediately, right? We're talking about being in 2018. We're going to get $500 extra per year of service starting in 2021. As far as the new hires, they wouldn't even be affected till 2036. So we have a couple more rounds of bargaining to get there. And honestly, even when we established this in 2017, there were regions like Colorado, for example, where there's a premium subsidy. It never had any value, real value. It existed, but because of rule applications, didn't even have value. So, and that's kind of the same situation here. I know that's a little vague, but I definitely will be going over that further when we look at the plan itself online, so you can see what does that actually mean to me? Why does she keep saying it doesn't really have value? Which sounds like it kind of sucks, but in any case, we'll go to that actually now. So the premium subsidy rules, there are two key ones, and this is how you figure out, does this have value to me? The subsidy can only be applied against the basic or the lowest cost plan in your county. So again, we will in a moment go to that webpage, look up a plan and see what does the subsidy actually mean? What does it mean to be applied against the basic plan? So essentially there might be more than one option in the county. So the subsidy can only be applied against the lowest cost plan. And then you are, however, able to choose a different plan. So if there are 3 options, which there are in the Northwest, you can choose which one you want. However, in terms of the subsidy use, if you choose a higher plan, the discount that you get is the lower of 2 numbers. It's the cost of the low plan or the value of the subsidy. So you don't, once again, you don't apply the subsidy against any of the higher plans, but there may be a discount depending on how the numbers work out. And it differs from county to county. So I'll show you what that means in different states. Again, the copays, the premiums, the out-of-pocket maximum, the actual design of that plan, we don't negotiate. It varies from region to region. There might actually be variations in different counties. So, in Southern California, which is much bigger, it might be different in Orange County or San Diego County versus LA County. But once again, we do not negotiate that. The costs actually do change year to year. And again, because Kaiser works in a Medicare market, they design these Medicare plans. Fortunately, the Medicare market is very competitive. So even though these plans change, the changes and the potential increases aren't astronomical, even for someone who doesn't have the benefits that we're talking about today. And again, we have a subsidy, we have an HRA account. Those are items that are going to be really important to offset or maybe completely cover the cost of your retirement. And then finally, there is an additional benefit that you can purchase. It's called Advantage Plus, and this is an option for you. It includes more dental and vision benefits. And so at this point, what we're going to do to give this some real reality for you, we are going to go look at the actual plans themselves. And so one thing I've learned is they do not like Google Chrome, but I'm using Microsoft Edge today. I'm putting in medicare.kp.org. You could also Google Kaiser and Medicare. And you just want to make sure that you are in the Kaiser Medicare website. Oh, good. I see Medicare all over the place. And I'm already in the shop plans option. So bear with me. This didn't work for me on Thursday. I couldn't seem to pull up what I needed, but anyone can come to this website and I can go to explore individual Medicare plans. So you want to start here. You don't want to go to employer or group because again, the modified design is individual. So this does not apply for those who are in a traditional or grandfathered status. But okay, so I went to explore and you can live anywhere in the country and check out what your Medicare Advantage plan is. So if I might, could